still have to be very good and center. So let's say I get to his wrist and I'm able to break his grip, but I can't get his arm to extend. I get to right here, yeah, and his arm won't extend. I want to cover up his hand. As soon as I break that grip, I want to cover his hand as quick as I can to keep him from reestablishing that grip. If I cover his hand, it's hard for him to grab that grip back. Once that hand is covered, my hand's already in here like this. We're kind of palm to palm. I'm just going to lift it and start bringing it back to me. So if I can get palm to palm with him, my other wrist is at his joint of his wrist. If he's got to keep it straight, yeah, he's keeping it straight. It doesn't take a whole lot for me to motorcycle that grip. Like, he might be able to hold it for a little bit. Hard, like keep it straight, yeah. He might be able to hold it for a little bit, but this constant steady pressure, that muscle's gonna wear out eventually. And it'll start to bend. Once it bends, his elbow's already trapped against my chest. Just bringing it in till I get that cow hand wrist lock. Same thing on the other side. So if I manage to get that grip broken and I cover his fingers up knuckle side, same thing. Just gonna keep turning it, bring it in, get the gooseneck. So you don't have to finish the armbar here. Wrist is much weaker than his bicep. So if I've got his whole knuckles covered, you just gotta figure out which way the wrist is gonna bend easier. So I've got my wrist on the back side of his wrist now, so that's gonna make it easy for me to bend his hand this way. Versus this way, I got nothing to push against his wrist really. So if it's not already bent in that direction, if he makes a mistake and leaves it bent in that direction, yeah, it's easy. But if he's flexing it this way, just bring my wrist in tight, bring his knuckles back to my hand, or his knuckles back to my abdomen. Another one, like sometimes people will get, hold it up here. Same thing, I'm just gonna grab at his fingers. If he tries to make a fist to keep me from getting all his fingers, same thing. Once I have his knuckles covered up with my other hand, elbow's pinched up against my chest, the elbow doesn't have anywhere to go, affect that wrist lock. Key on the wrist lock again is getting that wrist to bend. So once I get the wrist to bend, go ahead and get your grip. Yeah. Once I get that wrist to bend and I get that broken, coming over top, I'm just looking to control the back of his hand or the front of his hand, whichever side I can control. If I get the front of his hand on this side, I might switch. Coming up on top. Now his elbow's trapped against my hip, we can get that wrist lock. The more I do jiu-jitsu, the more tired I get, the more I look for the easy way. And the wrist is much easier than all of these, like wrists and ankles are a lot less strong than everything else. Sorry, covering up your mouth. All right, again, we're here. Get that grip to break and come right over the top without ever going back. Collapse the wrist, get my other arm out of the way. Sometimes if you're here and you're trying to get a wrist lock, your arm's in the way. So I'm blocking my own wrist lock. I'm gonna move that arm out of the way. Got it. Any questions? Wrist lock from super strong guy on the bottom.